How does the selection process work? Part 2. The second stage of the selection process relies on tests called substantive selection devices to evaluate the match between applicants' qualifications and job requirements. Examples include written tests, performance simulation tests, and structured interviews. The first category, written employment tests, measures applicants' job-relevant knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics, what we call KSAOs. Employers use tests of cognitive ability, knowledge, personality, and integrity to assess applicants' fit with the job. The major disadvantage of these tests is their low face validity, meaning applicants do not immediately see their connection to the job. As a result, applicants may see these tests as irrelevant and unfair. Although applicants do not like them, the research is clear that these tests are useful predictors of performance across industries. That is, applicants who score higher on relevant dimensions are more likely to be high performers on the job than those who score low on these same dimensions. Cognitive ability tests measure the capacity to reason, plan, and solve problems. These tests measure a variety of intellectual abilities, including spatial and mechanical abilities and perceptual accuracy. The sample items shown here are from the Wonderlic test. These tests are especially strong predictors of performance in jobs that require cognitive complexity, but they are also known to be biased against some groups. Knowledge tests measure applicants' understanding of the job and the information needed to do the job well. These tests assess declarative knowledge, knowing what, and procedural knowledge, knowing how, using multiple choice and essay items that are tailored to the job. Examples include your course exams and the written driver's license test. Personality tests measure stable patterns of behavior. The Big Five model is the most popular. Extroversion and conscientiousness tend to be predictive across many jobs and industries. Screen and personality tests identify normal personality and can be administered as pre-employment tests. Screen-out personality tests, however, identify psychopathology and can only be administered after an offer of employment. Integrity tests measure dependability, carefulness, responsibility, and honesty. Overt integrity tests ask direct questions about applicants' past behaviors and their attitudes related to honesty, such as, how often do you tell the truth? How many people cheat on their income taxes? Personality-based integrity tests, on the other hand, infer honesty from broad personality constructs like conscientiousness. These include questions such as, do you like taking risks? How often do you make your bed? Performance simulation tests assess applicants' ability to do the most important or critical parts of a job. The best-known performance simulation tests are physical ability tests, work samples, assessment centers, and situational judgment tests. Although these tests are more complicated to develop and administer than written tests, they have higher face validity, higher predictive validity, and are more difficult to fake. Let's start with physical ability tests, which assess applicants' ability to meet the physical demands of the job. Multiple abilities are often assessed simultaneously, including those related to strength, balance, endurance, and speed. Firefighter cadets, for example, must complete a stairway climb. They have to wear fire protective clothing and air tanks while carrying pieces of equipment up 3 flights of stairs. These tests may disadvantage some groups and should be assessed for employment discrimination. For instance, older applicants may be at a disadvantage due to their natural loss of muscle, stamina, and flexibility. Work sample tests attempt to measure whether applicants can do some aspects of the job in a realistic work environment. Marketing specialists could put together a marketing plan for an existing product. Computer programmers could take a programming test, or air traffic controllers could take a map reading test. Assessment centers are collections of tests or activities that require applicants to behave in a job-like environment. They are usually administered to groups, and trained raters evaluate the applicants' behaviors, like how they interact with others or how they solve problems. The inbox exercise is an example of a task they might complete independently. Applicants must prioritize and complete the items in an imaginary inbox that is designed to represent a typical workday. The test could ask them to write a company-wide memo addressing a major concern, respond to a manager's distressed email, and create a profit and loss statement for the previous calendar year. Other tests might ask applicants to work in groups, facilitate discussions, or complete some other important aspect of the actual job. Assessment centers are especially useful for hiring and promoting managers, leaders, and executives. Situational judgment tests are self-report surveys that ask applicants how they would perform in a variety of job situations. For example, a question might ask, how would you respond to a customer who is clearly angry about their experience? Most of the time, these tests provide applicants with a list of choices, each one associated with a certain number of points. Interestingly, situational judgment tests tend to be just as predictive as assessment centers, but with fewer costs, making them the preferred choice for many jobs. However, they are easier to fake than other performance simulation tests. The unstructured interview is a short and casual conversation based on random questions. Despite its popularity, this test is one of the least predictive of job performance. Why? Because without structure, interviewers tend to favor applicants who are similar to them, who share their values, beliefs, attitudes, and so on. Interviewers also tend to give undue weight to negative information and factors that are unrelated to the job. For these reasons, structured interviews are the preferred choice. During these interviews, applicants are asked the same questions in the same order, and their responses are recorded and rated using the same methods. The questions are focused on KSIAO's personality and person-job fit. Structured interviews tend to have high face validity, meaning applicants can clearly see how they are connected to the job. They are also valid predictors of many outcomes in many industries. A final benefit is that they allow for two-way communication. The organization gathers information from the applicants, and they gather information about the job and the company. For these tests to be used effectively, interviewers need to be trained well. Here are a few variations of the structured interview. Panel interviews use multiple interviewers to assess applicants. By combining the ratings of multiple people, the panel can form a more accurate representation of each applicant. Structured behavioral interviews ask applicants to describe how they handled specific problems in the past. In other words, it's a test of their unique work experiences. For example, we might ask, tell me about a time when you made a mistake, and what did you do about it? Or, when was the last time you gave feedback to an employee who was not performing up to standards, and what did you do? Applicants are encouraged to answer these questions using the STAR method. They should describe the situation, the task or problem, the action they took, and the results of their actions. These 4 bits of information should give the interviewer enough information to evaluate the response. The final hurdle of the selection process relies on contingent selection devices that provide a final check of applicants' qualifications, either before or after a job offer is made. Examples include drug tests and medical exams. Applicants who pass these tests receive job offers, while those who fail these tests are rejected. Drug tests measure traces of prohibited substances in samples of urine, hair, saliva, blood, or breaths. Their greatest strength is that they are the most difficult test to fake, but they are also one of the most expensive to administer. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that in most cases, drug tests are non-invasive. In fact, they are commonly used to hire employees in the public safety and transportation industries. Medical exams are another type of contingent selection device. They are used to determine whether an applicant is physically or mentally healthy enough to do the job. For instance, they are used with law enforcement officers, firefighters, pilots, athletes, and astronauts. Under the Americans with Disabilities Act, employers can only use these tests after making a contingent offer to an applicant. Once hired, managers should monitor employees' job performance, which you will learn more about in the next videos.